The night she learned her future had already been decided, the walls of her childhood room felt closer than ever, as if they were quietly conspiring with fate to trap her inside a life she had not chosen. At 18, when dreams were supposed to stretch wide and reckless, she stood on the edge of a forced marriage, her name written into an agreement she had never signed with her heart. She believed love was about to be taken from her before it ever had a chance to arrive, and she had no idea that the boy she was being pushed toward was about to become the safest place she would ever know. Before the story continues, take a moment to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and love arriving in unexpected forms, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the soul. She had grown up learning to stay quiet when adults spoke, to nod even when confusion burned behind her eyes, and to accept decisions made on her behalf as acts of love. Her family was not cruel, but they were afraid of gossip, of uncertainty, of a future that did not follow the familiar path laid out by generations before her. When the proposal came, it was presented not as a question but as a solution. A boy from a modest family, newly 18 like her, unmarried, untested by the world, and considered safe. She was told stability mattered more than romance, that affection could grow later, that obedience was the foundation of a good life. She listened, because she had been trained to listen, even as something inside her quietly cracked. The wedding arrived quickly, wrapped in rituals that felt heavier than joy. She remembered the weight of the clothes, the heat of the room, the faces watching her as if she were stepping into a role rather than a marriage. She did not cry, not because she was brave, but because shock had drained her of tears. The boy beside her looked just as overwhelmed, his hands trembling slightly, his eyes carrying a seriousness that did not belong to someone so young. She assumed he would be like everyone else, distant, demanding, expecting her to mold herself into expectations she did not understand. She prepared herself for a life of endurance rather than happiness. The early days were quiet in a way that felt unsettling. She waited for instructions, for criticism, for rules. Instead, she found space. He moved carefully around her, as though afraid of causing harm, offering patience without making a show of it. There was no sudden affection, no dramatic gestures, just small considerations that confused her more than cruelty ever could. He noticed when she ate less, when she lingered by the window too long, when her shoulders tightened at sudden sounds. He never asked her to explain herself. He simply adjusted, giving her room to breathe in a world that had already decided so much for her. Still, her heart remained guarded. She had learned not to trust ease, because ease could vanish without warning. She spent long afternoons alone with her thoughts, mourning the life she believed she had lost. She wondered who she might have been if given time to choose, to study, to dream freely. At night, when the house grew still, the weight of her situation pressed hardest. She felt guilty for resenting a boy who had done nothing wrong, guilty for wishing escape from a life others believed was a gift. The conflict lived inside her like a quiet storm, unseen but relentless. What she did not realize was that he was fighting his own battles in silence. Forced into responsibility before learning who he was, he carried the fear of failing her, of becoming another man who ruled through expectation rather than care. He had watched his parents struggle, had promised himself he would never let another person feel invisible under his roof. He did not know how to love in grand ways, but he knew how to show up, day after day, steady and present. He believed love was something built through protection, not possession. Gradually, change arrived not as a dramatic turning point but as a series of moments so gentle they almost went unnoticed. He encouraged her education, even when others questioned the necessity. He defended her silence, explaining it as thoughtfulness rather than weakness. When she faltered under pressure, he stood between her and judgment, absorbing criticism without complaint. For the first time, someone was choosing her comfort over approval, her growth over tradition. The walls around her heart began to soften, though she was afraid to name what she felt. There was a day when she fell ill, weak and frightened, reminded of how vulnerable her life truly was. As she recovered, she realized he had rearranged his entire routine to care for her without making her feel like a burden. He learned what made her comfortable, what foods she could tolerate, what fears surfaced when pain lingered too long. In that quiet care, something shifted. She felt seen not as a duty, but as a person whose well-being mattered deeply. The realization startled her more than love ever could. Seasons passed, and with them came confidence she had never known. She began to speak more, to laugh without checking herself, to imagine a future that included her own voice. The house no longer felt like a cage but like a foundation. He celebrated her victories, no matter how small, and shared her disappointments without trying to fix them. Their bond grew not from obligation, but from shared survival, from two young souls learning how to stand together when neither had been given a choice to stand alone. The world outside remained judgmental, quick to define their marriage as ordinary, unremarkable. People assumed she had been saved, that she should be grateful without question. They did not see the work it took to unlearn fear, the patience required to replace resentment with trust. They did not see the nights spent rebuilding faith in humanity through simple acts of kindness. What looked ordinary from the outside was, in truth, extraordinary in its quiet defiance of expectation. Love did not arrive like a storm. It arrived like dawn, slowly, steadily, impossible to deny once fully present. She realized she no longer imagined escape. Instead, she imagined growth, partnership, a life shaped by mutual respect. The boy she had been forced to marry had become a man who treated her dreams as sacred. In choosing to be gentle in a world that had not been gentle to either of them, he had given her something she never expected to receive: freedom within commitment. Just before the ending, take a moment to comment below and share what this story made you feel, or whether you believe love can truly grow from the most unexpected beginnings. When she finally understood the depth of what they had built, it was not marked by a single event, but by peace. The kind of peace that settles into the bones and stays. She no longer measured her life by what had been taken from her at 18, but by what had been given back through patience and care. She had entered marriage feeling like a sacrifice, but she emerged feeling chosen, valued, and strong. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love is not always loud but always powerful when it is kind, please like this video, share it, and engage with the channel. Your support helps these stories reach others who may still be waiting for hope to find them. In the end, she realized that while the marriage had been forced, the love had been freely given, and freely received. And sometimes, the most beautiful stories are not born from choice, but from the courage to grow where life unexpectedly plants you.